Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you enjoyed the long Easter weekend with your family. Today we've got the last few words of Unit 11 vocab to go over. Unit 11 completing the sentence has been posted on Google Classroom for you to do, so make sure you get that done today. And I've posted a short exercise on Shurley Chapter 11, Lesson 1, which I'm going to review over a little bit in this video. You're free to use your book on that. You're free to look back at the previous videos that I did on that. You're free to look at the video today for a little bit of guidance on it. It should be pretty simple as long as you take your time with it and pay attention to the rules that I've taught you about it. It's identifying predicate nouns and sentences. But if you have any difficulty with it, let me know. We're going to have a Shurley Chapter 11 review quiz type thing later this week, kind of like we did for Chapter 9. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in tomorrow's video, do a little bit more review in detail, try to prepare you for it. It shouldn't be too difficult. Again, as long as you take your time, use your book, things like that, use the resources available to you. And then we'll start Unit 12 vocab later this week, probably Friday. Let me check. Yes, Friday. So be ready for that. I've started grading your bronze bow essays. Those will gradually come trickling in for you on RenWeb or, let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to view the grades on Turnitin. I'm going to try to get the rubric uploaded to Turnitin where you'll be able to see them on there, but I'm not sure. You may not be able to actually see your score until it's on RenWeb. But either way, those will be gradually coming in. Some of you may have them back today. Some of them it may be a week and a half from now. But just keep an eye out. Check RenWeb. It'll eventually be in there. Bear with me because it does take a little bit of time to grade them on Turnitin because I don't have it in front of me where I can mark it by hand. So it's a little bit slower process, but I'll do what I can. All right, so last 5 words of Unit 11 vocab. Word 16 is replenish. Replenish is a verb. It means to refill something. So if something's emptied out, you replenish it. If you've exhausted your supply of water and you're in the desert and you find an oasis, a big pond in the desert full of clear water, you might fill up your jug and replenish your water supply. You sleep at night to replenish the energy you expend throughout the day. So if you're exhausted, you take a nap to replenish your energy. You might drink a cup of coffee, maybe not at your age, but I might drink a cup of coffee to replenish my energy if I'm feeling exhausted. I don't know. You guys may drink coffee. More power to you. But it's always a verb. You go to the gas station to replenish your car's fuel supply, things like that. It's to fill something back up that's been emptied out. It can be literal, like an actual container of water or fuel that's been emptied. You could say we got to go to the grocery store to replenish our food because we're out of food. That's another literal usage. Like I said, figuratively, it's like I go to sleep to replenish my energy that I've expended throughout the day. That's a little bit more figurative. It's a pretty simple word to use most of the time. Like refill is basically the same exact thing. Pretty close synonym. So you should be able to use it in any case where you could use refill. Word 17 is rummage. You've probably heard this word maybe used as like rummage sale. Your parents may have used that word around you. You may have heard it before. It's basically like a yard sale. So to rummage is to search through. It's a verb. So you might rummage through your backpack looking for your homework if you can't find it. You might rummage through your room trying to find, I don't know, a phone charger if you've lost yours or something like that, or a pair of headphones. So to rummage through, it's like to search through something. A rummage sale is like a yard sale, like somebody searched through their house, found stuff they weren't going to keep any longer, and they put it out for sale. They rummaged through and found things to sell. So again, this is a pretty easy word to use. I think it's most commonly used as a verb. It can be used as a noun. So you could say, I went on a rummage for my lost headphones. That's using it as a noun, but it's still describing that act of searching through. So it's always going to have a similar meaning, but I would focus on using it as a verb. I think that's definitely easier. All right. Word 18 is skimp. So skimp is to save, to be kind of stingy with your money. So if you skimp on, so if you're going to throw a party and you skimp on the cake, then you might have a really cheap, like Walmart birthday cake that's not very good. On the other hand, if you went to a professional baker and had a big fancy 3-tier cake done, you wouldn't have skimped because you would have spent a lot of money. So to skimp on something is to be cheap, to buy the cheap version, to not spend money on things in order to save. Like someone who's stingy and kind of a penny pincher, that kind of thing, they skimp on a lot of stuff. This can also be to not put out a full effort in something. So if you skimp on your effort with your homework, if you do it like, you're just like click, 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 and just go down the line and click the first answer, you're skimping on your homework. You're probably not going to have a very good grade. You're not trying very hard. You're not putting in a lot of effort. So skimp can also be used in that way. So if you're trying to exercise and lose weight, and you tell yourself, I'm going to run 1 mile every day this week, and you do it twice, then you've skimped on your goals of running a mile every day. You've cut yourself short. You've not put out full effort. Okay. Again, pretty simple word to use. Usually it's going to be used in that spending money context, like I skimped on food this week because I'm trying to save up for something else. So I bought like the cheap bread versus the fancy bread that I normally like, something like that. I don't know. Word 19 is sleuth. A sleuth is a detective, like a Sherlock Holmes type, someone who solves crimes, an investigator, things like that. Anything where you would use that, you could use the word sleuth as a noun. I've seen it used as a verb. Your book does not list it as a verb, like someone sleuthing around. It means kind of like snooping, being sneaky, trying to investigate something. I've seen it used that way. And I think it's fine if you do. But again, it's still that investigative act, like the act of investigating something, sleuthing around. But mostly it is used as a noun to describe like a detective, a spy, an investigator, someone of that type, a secret agent, anything like that. You use the word sleuth, you're good. You could say like the sleuth investigated the crime. That works for me. Word 20 is vandalism. So vandalism is when you mess up something like usually public property or someone else's property to cause damage to it. And this is usually for no reason. It's just done for enjoyment. Like graffiti, like painting on the walls, like spray paint or whatever, that's considered vandalism. If you ride down the road and you take a baseball bat and you knock your neighbor's mailbox off as you go down the road, that's vandalism. You know, if you toilet paper somebody's yard, that's considered vandalism. Causing damage or throwing trash on or anything like that on property that doesn't belong to you is vandalism. If you slash somebody's tires, that's vandalism. Pretty common word, pretty easy word to use. It's used as a noun. Shouldn't have any difficulties with that one. If you have any difficulties on any of those Unit 11 words, please let me know. I can always go back over them. But for now, I'm going to review a little bit of Shurley Chapter 11, Lesson 1. I know I talked about it last week, but I just want to give a few more examples since we do have an exercise on it today. So it's talking about predicate nouns. I said that a predicate noun is a noun, obviously, that shows up in the predicate. The thing that keeps it from being an object, like a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of the preposition, is that it follows a linking verb, okay? So an indirect object or a direct object are always going to follow an action verb. If you've got an action verb and a direct and a noun following it, it is a direct object or an indirect object. So if I say I kicked the ball, okay? Kicked is an action verb. It's an action that I perform. I physically kick the thing, okay? So if I kick the ball is then a direct object. If I throw the ball is a direct object. If I throw John the ball, I'm not throwing John, I'm throwing the ball, so ball is the direct object. John is the person whom I threw the ball to, so he's the indirect object. Okay, so he's receiving the action, but he's not having the action performed on him. Okay, so I'm not throwing him. I mean, he might be tiny, I don't know, but I'm not throwing him. I'm throwing the ball to John. Okay, I threw John the ball. Ball direct object, John indirect object, because throw is obviously an action verb. It's an action I physically perform. Now, if John stands up and he says, I am John, okay, am is not an action. It's not something you're actively doing. Am is a state of being, which is what a linking verb translates. And I know state of being is a really vague term, and we've talked about how that doesn't really mean much of anything. It simply means you're expressing what you are or were or will be, something like that. You're saying this is the state that I am in. So if I say I am Corey or I am Mr. Jones, I'm just saying this is who I am, this is my state, this is what I currently am, okay? That's a linking verb. Am is a linking verb. Are, was, were, is, be, being, been, things like that. Those are linking verbs. They don't show an actual action being performed. So if I say I am a teacher, am is the verb in the sentence, but it's a linking verb. Again, I'm not actively doing anything. It's not I teach kids. I could say that, and that would be an action verb, but I am a teacher. Am is not an action verb, it's a linking verb. So then teacher is a predicate noun. It's not a direct object because it's not receiving any kind of action, okay? Nothing's being done to that word teacher. It's not like I kicked the teacher. I mean, please don't. You could, but please don't. I am a teacher, okay? So linking verb connects I and teacher. That's what it means by linking. It connects teacher back to I. If I said, my mom is a good cook, okay? Mom is obviously the subject noun in the sentence. Is, again, it's a linking verb. So what is it being linked to? Mom is cook. Okay, so cook connects back to mom from is. Again, these are pretty simple, and they operate the same way as direct objects do. The only difference is you got a linking verb instead of an action verb. So if you're using a pronoun in this context, we talked about this when we talked about subject and object pronouns. You guys should remember this. If you're using a pronoun when it's a predicate noun or a predicate nominative, which is what you'll refer to at 7th grade and onward, then it's going to be the subject form, because this is technically treated like a subject noun, just in the predicate. That's what differentiates it from a direct object. Because when you have it in the predicate following a linking verb, it refers back to the subject. Again, it's linked by that linking verb to the subject. So if I say, who broke the vase? And you stand up and you say, it was I. Okay, it's obviously the subject pronoun in that sentence. Was is a linking verb. You're saying this thing was me, past tense. But it was I, because it's connected back to the subject. It has to be the subject form. So predicate nouns are technically subjects. Okay, they just show up in the predicate. I know that probably sounds kind of confusing. If that's overly confusing for you, just remember that if you have a pronoun following a linking verb, it has to be the subject form, like I, he, she, we, they. It and you can be either subject or object, but I, we, he, she, they, you, it, any of those, they are going to always, they will be in the predicate if they follow a linking verb. If it's following an action verb, like if I say, ow, it bit me, it's obviously it bit me, not it bit I. That wouldn't sound right. And you're probably saying, well, it was I doesn't sound right either. Yeah, using subject pronouns in the predicate doesn't necessarily sound right, especially to a southern ear. But it is grammatically correct. Yes, I would reword the sentence. If someone asked who broke the vase, I'd say I did it rather than it was I. That's the way we'd probably communicate that. It's an old-fashioned way of speaking to use predicate nominatives as pronouns. But it can still be done, and it is grammatically correct. It's usually done for exaggeration, to be kind of goofy, old-fashioned sounding, things like that. But if you have any questions on predicate nouns, using subject pronouns in the predicate or anything like that, what differentiates them from object pronouns, not object pronouns, direct objects and indirect objects. If you have any questions about linking verbs and why linking verbs do this versus action verbs and all that, let me know. I can always give you some more information. I posted a link last week, I believe it was, to some more information on quotation marks. If you have not looked at that, please go back and read through it. It's a little bit of a long read, and by a long read, I mean it'll probably take you about 10-15 minutes to go through it completely. You don't have to go through it completely, as long as you get the gist of it, because it goes into some detail on ways to use quotation marks that you won't ever have to worry about in my class, maybe ever. But it also shows how to use double quotation marks, where you've got a quote inside a quote, and it gives good examples of that, and it explains rules for them, I think, better than the Shurley book does. And better than I can do without typing it out. It's impossible for me to sit here and speak and explain it to you in a way that makes sense as well as that does. It's a link from Grammarly, which is a great resource for any kind of English grammar questions you have. So if you ever have any questions that maybe I haven't answered, or that you're not sure about, or you just don't want to ask me, look it up on Grammarly. It's a really good resource. Like I said, some of it will be above your grade level, but that's not a bad thing. So go take a look at that if you haven't. I'm going to review a little bit on indirect objects and quotation marks, I think, in tomorrow's video. For some of you it's tomorrow, for some of you it's the next day. And then we will have, like I said, a little bit more review on chapter 11 on either tomorrow or the next day as well. And we'll have a chapter 11 quiz. Okay, so be ready for that. Again, you can use your book on all this. I don't mind. You're at home. I can't go as in-depth as I could in the classroom. Use your book. Use the resources available to you. All right. See you guys.